On the driver's side of the vehicle, these are the Arlington Woods. They are maintained by the National Park Service, and they give us an idea of what part of this property may have looked like when it was an 1,100-acre livestock plantation. The natural beauty of the Arlington Woods is as far removed as we can imagine from the war-torn battlefields of World War I. World War I was, of course, the first modern mechanized war, where tanks, aircraft, modern artillery, machine guns, barbed wire, and poison gas would be used. The war-torn battlefields of Western Europe would inspire Canadian physician Colonel John McCrae to write a poem, the first lines of which go, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row." That poem gave us the image of the poppy as an eternal symbol of sacrifice. Please join me after your tour here of Arlington National Cemetery on the sidewalk after the tour, where I'll be handing out free commemorative poppies for you to remember your visit here to Arlington National Cemetery. President Kennedy is not the only president laid to rest here at Arlington National Cemetery. The first president buried here at Arlington was William Howard Taft. William Howard Taft also served as the 10th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court after his presidency, a job he vastly preferred to the presidency. Now, President Taft, his wife's name was Helen, known affectionately as Nellie. She began the tradition here in Washington, D.C. with the wife of the Japanese ambassador planting the Japanese cherry blossom trees. President Taft himself was a big fan of the game of baseball. Two traditions associated with that game began with him. He was the first president to throw out the first pitch at a game of professional baseball. In that same game, he sat through the majority of the game. And of course, President Taft was a large gentleman. He weighed approximately 350 pounds. And so, President Taft, most of the way through that game of baseball, felt the need to get up, move around a little bit. And of course, when the president stands, we all stand. So when President Taft stood up in the middle of the 7th inning, that began a tradition we know today as sitting stretch. President William Howard Taft and his wife Nellie on the passenger side up the long brown walkway, the tall brown obelisk on the passenger side in just a moment. President Taft and his wife Nellie up the brown walkway on the passenger side. The first grave marker in the second row, immediately past the Tafts, is the grave marker for General of the Army Omar Bradley, 5-star general, served during World War II, commanded all the American forces at the end of the war in Europe. 1.3 million men under his command. Looking up the hill where we just came from, you can't see it, the Arlington House behind the Military Women's Memorial, and then looking down the driver's side of the vehicle, looking down Memorial Avenue, down to the Lincoln Memorial. The Memorial Bridge here constructed to connect the South to the North after the Civil War. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for your tour of Arlington National Cemetery. If you have served, are serving, know someone who has served, or here on behalf of someone who has served, we'd like to thank you for your service. Thank you for joining us again here today at Arlington National Cemetery. My name is Daniel, our driver is Omar, my colleague is Russell. any questions, I'll be on the sidewalk with the poppies at the end of your tour. If you have any comments, please send them to the email address at the bottom of your ticket. And enjoy your stay here in Washington.